Are you planning to sell your home here in Orange County? If so, this video could easily add 50,000, 100,000, even more to your sales price. It's a long video, but there's a ton of value, 6 different strategies that we're going to go over. So my name is Patrick. I'm a real estate agent, so I earn my living. I'm here in Orange County and I earn my living by helping people like you buy and sell homes here in Orange County. So you can scan this QR code, which will be on the screen for the duration of this entire presentation, to have all my contact information into your phone. So what we're talking about here is how to sell for top dollar. How can you maximize the sales price? How can you maximize your equity when you're selling your property here in Orange County? And the beauty is that the strategies we're going to cover today, they really apply to any property type, even if you're in a large, beautiful, luxury mansion already, or maybe you're just getting started. Maybe it's your first home and you're selling that. Or maybe like most of us, you're kind of somewhere in between. So it's not your first home and it's also not a mansion. The bottom line is that these are proven strategies and they work for any property size. So let's get started. The first one is strategic pricing. And what we have to understand is that the first 14 days are absolutely critical for the success of a listing. We have to take advantage of the first 14 days. In fact, the actual peak selling activity when a new property is put on the MLS, when it's put on the market, the peak selling activity is actually right around 10 days. So even by the time you get to 14 days, 2 weeks, you're kind of already on the back end of that curve. So the way we prepare your house, the way we price it, and what kind of marketing we do when we launch that listing on the MLS on the market is absolutely critical. And a lot of it has to do with pricing. So here's a comparison of 2 different pricing strategies. And the orange one is very common, unfortunately, that it's priced too high, it's overpriced. And so the activity level is low. And then, like in week 4, you actually have to lower the price just to get the thing to move. This is a huge problem. And you really want to avoid this situation because you end up getting less for your home. It's in a way, it's counterintuitive. But if you price it higher, you end up getting lower. If you price it lower, quite often you end up getting higher. And we're going to talk about that. But basically, right now, we kind of have a bifurcated market here in Southern California. So there's some properties, a minority, it's less than half, it's about a quarter, that are well priced and they're marketed well. We're going to talk about marketing in this video. That's very important. And they sell right away. But the others, the three quarters of the properties are not priced well and they're not marketed well. And so they end up sitting on the market. And like I said, that's a huge problem. You want to avoid that because you will end up making less for your home. So let's just go through the common scenario. And this is important because you're going to go through this process as well. So let's say you've decided that you're going to sell your home. And so the first step in the process is you're going to go and you're going to meet some real estate agents. And maybe you know somebody, a friend of a friend, somebody's got a wife, someone's got a husband, maybe someone in your family's in the industry. So you meet with some real estate agents. And those agents, knowing that you're thinking about selling your house, they're going to do some research. And they're going to do what's called a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis. You're basically looking at 3 properties that are very similar to your property in an effort to try and get a value of what they can sell the property for. And so when they come for what they call the listing presentation, they're going to come to your home. They have to see your home because they have to know what's for sale, right? I'm going to need to see your property too, as a listing agent, but they're going to come and they're going to have a number. And so the first person, let's just use an example. All the homes in Orange County are over $1 million anyway, pretty much. So let's just go with these numbers. The first one comes and says, okay, I can get 1,000,001 for the house. A second person comes and says, I can get 1,000,002. And then you can imagine the third person comes along and says, I can get 1,000,003. Now, look, you're a human being. You want the most money you can get for your property, right? Makes perfect sense. So you're going to want to go with the 1.3 person, right? It makes perfect sense. But that is actually not the right choice most of the time. They call this buying the listing. And this happens all the time. Like I run into this literally almost on a daily basis, where people come into a listing presentation, they come to your home to talk to you about possibly selling your home, and they try to buy the listing by giving you an inflated number, right? They want to get the deal. They want you to choose them and not the other person. So they come in with a number that's too high. But that leads to problems down the road because if you launch the property at a price that's too high, like I showed you before, the activity is lower. You end up getting less. It's a disaster. It can be a huge problem. So if you know, let's just say, for example, that we could actually tell the future and we could know ahead of time that your property is going to end up selling for 1,200,000. The right thing to do, believe it or not, is to put it on the market for 1,100,000 or maybe 1,115,000 or 1,116,000, right? Just a little bit below the market, right? You want to be just a little bit below the market because we're trying to build that excitement, right? We're trying to create a feeding frenzy where everyone sees the property, everyone wants to come and check it out. It's priced well, there's an urgency to it. We want to get multiple offers. We want to create a bidding war. That's what this game is all about, right? And you have the phone is ringing, right? People want to see the property. It's priced well. We want to be the green line because if that's happening, people are coming to the open house. People are seeing the property. My phone's ringing. If I'm the listing agent, my phone is ringing. And that allows me to tell people, bring your highest and best. Bring your high. This is the whole industry on the sell side is the bring your highest and best offer, right? And the only way that I can say that is if we have multiple offers. I want to be able to say we have multiple offers and we're already above asking, right? And this is, I'm telling you, this is critical. If I can do that as your agent, right, then more offers come. We're feeding the frenzy and the whole thing picks up steam, right? That's what you want. So if I come to the listing presentation, if I come to your property, because I have to see your property myself and see what it is that we're selling, I'm going to come with two numbers, right? The first number is my expectation, the market price, what I think your property is going to sell for. And I'll back it up. I'll show you how I got to that number. And by the way, if you meet with other agents, you should ask them to justify their number as well, right? It's free research. You can see what they looked at. You can see the comps that they looked at to determine the price of your property. I'm going to provide that information as well. So number one, I'm going to provide the market price, my expectation of what I think your house is going to sell for. But then secondly, I'm going to come with a second number, which is what I recommend we list it at. And like I said, we want to list it just a little bit below the market. And the truth is that if we can't come to that agreement, then I probably won't take the listing because here's what happens. When you price it below, right, that you get that excitement, you get that bidding war, you get multiple offers, and you rely on that bidding war to get you up to the number you want. Keep in mind, you don't have to accept an offer, right? It's entirely up to you. If we don't get an offer that meets what you actually want in your mind, your secret number, the number that you want for your house, if we don't get an offer that hits that, you don't have to accept any of the offers. So you're not really risking anything. But if you come in a little bit below, right, just a little bit below, competitive, right, and I'll show you how we get to that. Then you create that feeding frenzy, and quite often the bidding war gets you up to the number you want and maybe even higher. And that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to do the same research that other agents do, right? We all do this in the industry. I'm going to do a CMA. I'm going to look at three properties which are very similar to yours and make adjustments to come up with a determination. But I'm going to do more than that, right? I'm going to pull the entire inventory of every property that has the same basic characteristics as yours. Like let's say you have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, right? I'm going to look for all the 4 bedrooms, 2-bath in your municipality and maybe the 3 or 4 municipalities around yours. And I'm going to pull the entire inventory. Because let's face it, when someone's looking for a home, they're not looking at just 3 properties to evaluate yours, right? So 4 in total. No, they're looking at everything. They're looking at everything that's active at that point in time. So we have to look at the entire inventory. And then we have to understand those properties on a price per square foot basis, right? And then on top of that, I also calculate the price per square foot of the lot because at the end of the day, you're buying land, right? And so how much land you get, how big the property is a significant number as well. And so if you add those two numbers together, then it comes up with this combined figure, this price per both. I just highlighted it in green. And the number itself doesn't, it's not important, but it's a great way for us to compare other properties and see where yours fits in that mix to make sure that we price it competitively. Now, I also want to draw your attention to this column way on the right-hand side, which is labeled DOM, that stands for days on market. And this is very important as well. Like I said before, you want the property to go quickly. You want it to sell in 2 weeks. You want it to be gone. That's a best case scenario. Sometimes people think, oh gosh, if I would have held a little bit longer, we could have got an even higher offer. Look, you can never tell. You can't split test these things. Like you can't do it one way and then go back and do it the other way. But it's almost never the case, right? You want that excitement. You want to sell it in the first 2 weeks. But anyway, a lot of these properties end up sitting on the market. And so I've highlighted in yellow here all the properties that have been on the market for longer than 40 days. And look at some of these in particular, like 349 days. This is crazy. This is a huge problem, right? And lower down the page, there's another one, 247 days. These properties, like they become toxic. Nobody even wants to see them anymore. And they're all saying the same thing. They're all saying there must be a reason. There must be a reason. And when your property becomes toxic, now you should honestly, you should just take it off the market entirely and then put it back on the market 6 months later. Because once you end up in this category, it's toxic and it's a huge problem. And either somewhere between the owner of that property and the listing agent, they have an unrealistic expectation of what that property is going to sell for. And I blame the agent because it's the agent's responsibility to say to the owner, to the property owner, look, this number that you want or that's been brought up, it's too high. And it's up to the agent to say that. Anyway, you don't want to be in that situation, right? It's very important to not be in that situation. So we want multiple offers. We want to get that excitement. It's a big, important first piece. We want to take advantage of those first 10 days. Okay. Number two, um, the payment focus. So we've had a fundamental shift in the market over the last year to 18 months. And we all know, we've all heard it. You have to understand what today's buyer psychology is like. Things have changed. Basically, mortgage rates are way higher than they were, right? They were 2.5 to 3.5%. Now they're 6 to 7%. Let's say 5.5 to 7%. Much higher. And meanwhile, the inventory, that's the blue line, is also higher. So this has affected the way buyers are approaching the market. So in 21, 22, the mindset was FOMO. FOMO stands for fear of missing out. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, these houses are selling so quickly. We have to go, go, go. We have to offer whatever we have to get the house. It was a real panic. Very frustrating actually for buyers. But excellent for sellers. And interest rates were very low, 2.5 to 3.5%. Extremely low inventory, like severely low inventory. It was brutal. But the result was, from a pricing strategy point of view, you could price it high and it would sell at almost whatever I mean, it was unreal. So for sellers, it was a good deal. But now in today's market, things have changed and buyers are focused on their payment. What's my monthly payment going to be? Interest rates are much higher. The inventory is getting higher as well. So it's a little bit of a reprieve for buyers that now they actually have some selection. They have a little bit of negotiating power. But the pricing strategy, if we're going to be on the sell side of this market, we have to price strategically. So the behavior of buyers has changed. The monthly payment of a new buyer today, like a buyer today getting a mortgage today, their payment is up 65% from where it was in 2021. In order for them to have the same payment that they could have had in 2021, they'd have to buy a property which is 25% lower or even more. And the net result is that the pool of qualified buyers is down over 40%. So it's really changed, how, I mean, of course, there's still good buyers are still able to buy, but a lot of buyers are constrained by those financial realities. So enter the 2-1 mortgage rate buy down. So this is a product that you could offer as a seller concession, as a seller incentive, if you wanted to sweeten the pot of your property, right? These are ideas. You don't have to do it. It's not even right to do it for every property, but it's a tool in our toolbox that we can use if we want to. So the net result is you're essentially paying prepaid interest to allow the buyer to have 2% lower rate on the first year and a 1% lower rate on the second year. And then only on the third year, going to the 30th year, is the regular fixed rate. Now, the buyer still has to qualify at the fixed rate, but you can offer a lower payment, and it makes quite a big difference. So if you're assuming, say, $1 million property in an $800,000, 80% mortgage, 30-year mortgage, let's assume it's at 6.5% is the market rate. That means for the first year, they're going to be paying a payment at 4.5%. And then in the second year, 5.5%, and the third, 6.5%. Well, the difference is $1,000 in the monthly payment. Again, these are tools. We don't have to use this, but it's something that we have available if we need to sweeten the pot. Because the bottom line is, how much does this cost? Well, it costs, you have to check with the lender because every lender is a little bit different and the rates, the fees change and so on. But this example costs about $18,000. That's less than 2% of a $1 million home of the sales price, right? So the question is, what would be more motivating to the buyer? Let's say instead of $1 million, it's priced at 980,000. That doesn't seem like a big difference at all. But meanwhile, if you offered this as an incentive and gave them payment for the first year that's $1,000 less, that's a motivating factor. And that's something that could be motivating for the buyer. So these are tools that we can use. If we can offer that lower payment, that $1,000 lower payment as a result of this program, it's something that can sweeten the pot and make your house easier to sell. Now, if we do that, we can feature this on the marketing. We can educate the buyer's agents that come in with their clients. We can include it in the purchase agreement. There's all sorts of things we can do from a marketing perspective if we're offering this. So in some cases, for a variety of properties, I've done this myself. We just did this for a condo in Irvine where we offered a 2-1 rate buy down, and it was a motivating factor. It helped to sell it. Now, there's other options as well, and I'm not going to go into this because there's so much content in this video already. I don't want to stretch it out, but you should be aware that there is some really incredible programs for bridge financing, which is also, if you're selling your current home, you're probably going to buy another home. And you can get buy before you sell mortgages programs available where you can literally go and buy another home, and they will give you 75% of the value of your home for up to 6 months. You have up to 6 months to sell your current home. That means that you don't have to move out of your home and then move into the other one, right? There's no temporary housing costs. It also means that you don't have to write a contingent offer when you purchase a new place. Sellers hate contingent offers, right? If you're selling your place, you don't want a contingency for the person who's buying your property. They have to sell their other property first. That's a disaster, especially these days, because if they don't have a good listing agent, that property can sit on the market for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and you're sitting there just waiting. So you don't want that. So anyway, these programs are available, and if you're interested in this is precisely what I can help you with. This and so many other things. Contact me. If you scan this QR code, it'll bring my contact information into your phone. It's a VCF file, so it brings in all the contact information, and we can talk about that because some of those programs are fantastic. All right, next up, aggressive marketing. This is another key that honestly, most realtors, they just don't know how to do it, and they're not willing to take the risk of spending money to aggressively market a property. Now, the number one tool that we all have available to us is the MLS. That's the number one tool. And I'm even shocked at how many MLS listings I see that are not properly filled out. They're not fully filled out. And they're not taking advantage of the opportunity that the MLS provides. Now, on the back end of the MLS, there's a whole ton of search criteria. And this is just the first part of it. I mean, this goes on for pages, and all of these fields are searchable fields. So when we put a listing together, if I'm your listing agent, we have to make sure that we fill out every single one of these. every opportunity that we have to provide more information, we need to take that opportunity. And we need to fill this out as much as we possibly can because keep in mind, it's this data, it's precisely this data that feeds into the giant public websites like Redfin and Zillow. They get their data, they get it from what's called an IDX feed. IDX stands for Internet Data Exchange. So they have an IDX feed from the MLS. That's where they get their data. So the more information we put into the MLS, the more information ends up on Zillow. So we have to take advantage of that. So photography, the photographs that we put on the MLS is another key thing. We're going to talk about this in the next section. And then on top of that, floor plans. People love floor plans. There's actually some fascinating data on floor plans. So when you have a floor plan in your MLS listing, that listing gets increased engagement compared to other listings, right? There's more in-person showings when you have a floor plan, right? They've studied this. This is statistics. And they, believe it or not, you have 15% fewer unqualified showings because people disqualify themselves because they look at the floor plan and they're like, oh, this isn't going to work for this reason or for that reason. And so they take themselves off the list. So it makes the entire home selling process more efficient. So having a floor plan, if we list your home, we're going to have a floor plan on the MLS. And even if you don't have one yourself of your property, I actually have a software that I can use that creates the floor plan. So if you have it, great. If you don't, we're going to make it either way because your MLS listing needs to have a floor plan. So optimizing the MLS, that's job number one. That's priority number one. But then on top of that, there's a whole bunch of other programs that we can take advantage of. Zillow actually has a very good program called the Zillow Showcase, and they feature the listings of showcase property. You pay for it. I pay for it. So if I'm the listing agent for you, we sell your property, I'm going to pay for this either way. So this isn't going to cost you a penny, but it's a service that I pay for because there's good value there. And these are statistics that they provide. This is more marketing to agents. So if you read this, it's really promoting the service to agents. But the bottom line is that it's demonstrating that they really do quite a bit to feature these properties. I think it's a great value. I think you get a lot for your money, and it's something that I do for my listings. So we have to take advantage of that. Now, on top of that, we have to do some real advertising. And I cannot believe how many agents are absolutely not willing to put their own money at play and do some real. By the way, you're most likely finding this video. You're watching this video most likely because I'm promoting it on YouTube. Now, you might have found it through some organic channel as well, but there's also a decent probability that you got to this video because that I pay money to feature the video in front of people who are interested in real estate here in Orange County. So that could be how you found this video. So I do YouTube advertising. I do Facebook advertising. In fact, all of this information that I'm sharing in this video, I also provide in a webinar format. And when I do webinars, I promote them on Facebook. And this is an example of an ad that I use to promote the webinar Selling for Top Dollar. So in other words, I do advertising all the time. It's a part of my business. It's a part of what I do. And we use that to promote open houses, right? That's the whole point, is to get people to your open house, and that the goals are very, very straightforward and easy to follow. I want 500,000 impressions of our ad to promote your property, right? From that, I want 3,000 clicks, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. I want 3,000 clicks and I want 50 or more open house visitors. If we get that, if I can deliver that, we're going to sell that house and we're going to get a good value for it because we're generating a lot of interest. Now, by the way, have you ever been curious why, like the website Zillow on the stock market, it trades, a publicly traded company. The market capitalization, the value of the company Zillow on the stock market is over $18 billion. And it's just a website, right? They don't sell a product. It's just a website. Have you ever been curious how a website-based company like Zillow can have a valuation of $18 billion? Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you because it demonstrates The insanity of the real estate industry. So this all started because Zillow had a program called Become a Premier Agent with Zillow. But it became so popular because real estate agents hate marketing. They can't, so many agents, they hate, they're desperate to get clients. They don't know how to do it. They're not willing to do regular advertising. And so they pay money to a website like Zillow to get leads, right? People who express interest on Zillow, Zillow sells those leads to realtors. Anyway, this became so popular that they actually introduced what's now called the Flex program for almost every major municipality across the country, certainly Orange County, Los Angeles, it's all flex. Everything is flex. And the flex program, they will give you, the Zillow will give real estate agents leads. So if you express interest on Zillow, they're going to sell that to an agent. And in exchange for that, that agent is going to agree to give Zillow a percentage of the commission they get on the transaction. This is insane. It's insane. So, what do you think that percentage is? Like, just think about this for a second. What do you think the percentage is that a realtor pays Zillow just to get your name and number? It's 40% of the commission. It's 40% of the commission. Almost half of the commission goes directly to Zillow by just because Zillow made the introduction of that agent to you if you expressed interest on Zillow. And Zillow isn't the only one who does this. Redfin does the same thing. They charge 35% for their program. And they even have Realtor.com. They have a flat monthly fee, but then on top of that, you pay 30%. So it's 30% plus a flat monthly fee. So they're getting a huge amount of money from realtors who hate marketing and don't have any understanding of marketing. And they hate marketing so much that they're willing to give up 30 to 40% of the commission just to get an introduction to a client, which is totally insane. Let's take that money and spend it on advertising, direct to consumer advertising. We can get a lot more for that money, believe me, if we spend that money on Facebook or YouTube. All right, number 4. The next 3 sections are more fun. The first 3 that we just went through, that was the meat and potatoes. But this is more the fun stuff. Curb appeal, making a good first impression, which is so key, and we got to take advantage of that too, the photographs. So curb appeal is just what people see when they first drive up to the house. And there's a very interesting, this is another, they've studied these things. It's fascinating what happens. If you drive up to an open house and it looks beautiful from the outside, right? There's a chain reaction that happens in your brain at that point. And the person saying, oh my gosh, it looks so great. They already like it. They want the inside to look as nice as the outside, right? And so they have an expectation now because the outside looks nice. Now they're looking for nice things on the inside. Now compare that to a property that looks not nice. And maybe it's dirty or unkept or the front yard's a disaster, whatever. There's all sorts of things that can happen. But if the outside looks bad, it's the same thing. Your brain, the average person goes, oh, they're kind of disappointed already. They're like, oh gosh, we came over here and now look at this. It looks like a shack. And so when they go inside, they're looking for bad things to validate the impression they had from the outside. That's what's happening, right? You have it. It's the same thing when you meet a person. If you meet a person and the first impression is good, you're looking for good things in that person. Meanwhile, if you meet a person and the first impression is bad, now you're looking for bad things and you find what you're looking for. So if you're looking for good things, you're going to find good things. If you're looking for bad things, you're going to find bad things. So the way the property looks from the outside is really important. So there's all kinds of things that you can do, but that first impression creates this chain reaction, and that's what we want. We want the outside to look nice so that when they get inside, they're looking for good things on the inside. So what are things we can do? Well, we can add a new front door. You can add a new front door. Now, it's not actually that cheap to do it, but it's fairly easy to do it, and it's very effective. A beautiful new front door is very effective. And you can have potted plants on the outside of the front door. It makes a huge difference. These things make an inviting first impression. And you can get those potted plants for 50 to 200 bucks, depending on how big they are, right? You can get really huge potted plants. Go to Home Depot and you can see these plants. You can buy a couple of plants anywhere from 40, 50 bucks all the way up to 200, depending on what you get. But there's lots of even more simple things, right? You can get a nice doormat. These are all just ideas. They're very cheap. These are things that you can do on your own to get a nice mat. You can plant some flowers, have a your gardener come in and do some landscaping and put some new flowers in the front yard. You can pay them to do that. Of course, you can do it by yourself as well. You can trim the bushes, right? Make it look nice. Now you can power wash the driveway or the back deck. That's going to cost a little bit more money, but it makes a huge difference, right? These are all little things that we can do to prepare your property for the sale. Now, landscaping is a more expensive thing, and don't misunderstand. I'm not saying you have to do any of these or all of these. What I'm trying to do is provide ideas where there's a good ROI. ROI is return on investment. So if you're going to invest $2,000, you're probably going to get back $5,000 or $10,000, right? That's what I'm talking about. What are the effective things that you can do? And landscaping does cost more money, but it's also very effective because it just makes the property look so nice from the outside, like it's kept and organized and it's pretty and inviting. So landscaping those are things that you can do as well. Now, the photography is absolutely key. And the professional photographers, I mean, these people are magicians. Now, again, you're not going to pay for photography. I pay for photography. Believe me, and I've got great photography. I mean, I've this one woman, she's just a magician. She's awesome. So, and having good photography is really, really important. It's absolutely critical. And the difference, like these people make the same property, just make it look so much more inviting with good photography and lighting adjustments and color and so on. And so we end up with these beautiful photographs on the MLS. And that just goes such a long way to bring people into the property, generate that excitement, get people, again, looking for good things. Number five, staging, which is similar, right? Now we're talking about the inside of the house, not the outside. We're talking about the outside before curb appeal, but let's talk about staging. Now, this is a national statistic that you're seeing on the bottom of the screen. Good staging adds 5 to 10% to the sales price. That's incredible. And honestly, in Southern California, it's not accurate. Because we're talking about houses that are already over $1 million. So does it add $100,000 to the sales price? No, it doesn't. But it's a pretty safe bet that it adds 4%. I would say 4 or 5%. You can get a significant bump in your sales price, but maybe even more important is that they tend to sell twice as fast. So right now, the average days on market across the entire, and again, it's too long because a lot of these listing agents are not, in my opinion, doing what they should be doing to get these properties to move. But the average days on market today is about 40 days. And so that being the case, if we have good staging, we'll probably sell it in 20 days, right? 2, 3 weeks. That's what we're shooting for, right? It's that first 2, 3 weeks that we want to be done. So we're talking about companies that come in and bring furniture and make your home look like it's being lived in, like it's beautifully decorated. I've got great staging. I've got two providers. One of them I just love. They do just an amazing job. And these really thick cable knit blankets, I swear to God, this is like probably the highest ROI in real estate is having these blankets. If you go to any open house, you can see these throws, and they do such a great job. They're beautiful. We're trying to create an emotional connection with warmth, make your place look warm and inviting and cozy, right? So, and again, these stagers do a great job. They can make a place look so beautiful. And the people who come into the open house, they have to be able to envision what's this going to be? What's it going to be like to live in this property, right? That's what the stager is trying to do: is give these people an idea, paint a picture. You're painting a canvas for these people, for these buyers who come in and they're like, oh, okay, I can do this, I can do that, I can make it look lived in. Now, how much is it going to cost? So now this staging is generally priced on a per room basis. So you pay a different price for a bedroom than you do for a kitchen or for the living room. So it's generally charged per room, but that makes it really hard to estimate. I want to give you numbers that you can kind of in your mind estimate what this is going to cost. So this is a little more rough, but staging is going to cost basically between $2 and $5 per square foot of your property. So if you've got, 2,000 square foot property, you can do the math. Now, $2 to $5, it's a pretty wide range. So you'd probably pay about $5 a square foot if you're using their furniture. So that means you leave the property. The property is vacant, right? Maybe you're using the bridge product that I mentioned earlier, and you have bought a new place and you have moved into the new place. So now your existing home is completely vacant. So they bring in their own furniture, they bring in everything. It's going to cost about $5 a square foot to do that. It's going to cost about $2 a square foot if someone comes in and makes your place look beautiful with your furniture. In other words, you're still in the property. It's still an owner-occupied property. Just so you know, about 1/3 of listings on the MLS are vacant, and about 2/3 of MLS listings are still owner-occupied. So generally speaking, these properties are still owner occupied. You're still going to be living in your house when it's on the market. And so you can do this for less, for $2 a square foot. Now, if you take the $5 just to get kind of an upper end of what this might cost. So we're talking about a vacant property, right? There's nothing in the house. This company comes in and does everything. So 1,800 square foot, you're talking roughly 9,000 to do that. 2,400 square feet, it's going to cost more than that. 3,000 square foot, that's a big house right there. That's going to cost about 15,000, but it's going to add a lot to the sales price, right? If you have $1 million property, it's probably going to add in the range of $40,000, right? If it's a $2 million property, it's going to be 80,000, and it's going to be even more if you have a $3 million property. That depends on what city you're in and the location, how nice the property is, and so on. But it gives you an idea. This can make a big difference in the sales price. Now, you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. You don't have to bring in a company to do it all, right? There's a lot of things, and a lot of this just boils down to, again, like pillows, right? Having nice pillows. Like you can go and buy beautiful pillows. It doesn't have to cost that much. Generally speaking, on a per room basis, to get a bunch of nice pillows, you're talking 100, 200, $300, depending on, if you get embroidered pillows, there's all sorts of variations. But if you get nice, beautiful pillows, it'll cost you in that range. Like I said before, these throws, these blankets, they're not cheap. They're, in the range of $50 to 300, depending on, where you get them or the brand or whatever. But having two or three of these, I've got a bunch of them. I mean, these are very, very, I'm telling you, this is the highest ROI in real estate, is having these thick cable knit throws, these blankets that you can drape it over a couch. You can put it on the corner of a bed in the bedroom. They look beautiful. And you can do, so many things just to make a place look nice. You can put a nice cutting board in the kitchen, right? Just a really nice one. I've got one downstairs that cost me $200. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is giant chunk of wood. And this is almost a joke in real estate because it's so common. These wooden chain links. If you go to any open house, like you see these all over the place because they're kind of cool. They're earthy. They look kind of funky, right? They have a nice look to them. And I went on Amazon to take a look. I mean, here's one for $37, $38. Like you can get this stuff for cheap. If you go to open houses, you're going to see these all over the place. Why are they there? Because they look cool. They look great. People love them, right? Having indoor plants inside your place, green, things that are green inside your home, make it look more homey, makes it look more alive, more inviting to be in there. Having matching lamps, right? All these things can make a difference. It can bring 50 grand, 80 grand into your pocket by doing this kind of stuff and making your place look gorgeous, right? You're trying to create that emotional connection and have it warm. You roll up some towels. I mean, it makes it look like a resort. It looks beautiful. Roll up some towels and put them in the bathroom, right? Get some candles. These are things that, you can do this when you're in your new home. You don't just do this when you're selling your home. So many times people, we put their house together so that it's ready to sell, and they come into their home and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've lived here for 15 years and it's never looked as good as it looks right now, and we're actually selling it to somebody else." But the bottom line is you can do this, what we're talking about here is basically just interior design 101. This is interior design, right? What can you do to make your place look nicer? And once you know these things, like you're going to start noticing this stuff all over the place, like these wooden chain links. I'm telling you, go to open houses, you're going to see those wooden chain links all over the place. So I have to ask you, who do you know that needs this information? We're not done yet. We've still got a couple of things to go. But you're watching this video. I appreciate you watching this video. But is there someone who you're thinking about? You're like, gosh, my sister should be watching this, or my cousin, or a friend from work, and you know that they're thinking about moving. And you're like, gosh, they need all this information. Please pass my information along, right? This is what I'm doing. This is my marketing, right? I meet my clients through this video, and I have a few others as well that target different things. This is a video that's designed for home sellers, which is something that I'm really good at. Something that I love, by the way. I love the sell side of real estate. But anyway, if this information is good information, you're learning something, things that you can use, get my information, pass it along. We do a great job for our clients, and I love it, and I appreciate it. All right, number six, uh, select a strong agent. So is this self-serving? Of course it is. This whole video is marketing. So I am promoting my service as a real estate agent. I would love to work with you if you are selling your home and if you're buying a new home, this is what I do. But the bottom line is that your agent is absolutely key to the amount of profit, how well you do on the sale. Your agent, number one, the incentives are aligned because your agent makes more money if you get a higher price, and you make more money if you get a higher price. So the incentives are totally aligned. You want to have an agent on your side to be on your team, someone who knows how to negotiate, right? That's super important. How to talk to other agents on the phone, which is a huge part of what we do is those phone calls. You need someone who understands value and understands how to look at a market and see what the consumer is looking at and how to price your property to generate excitement and generate interest. Someone who's got a processing system in place. Like we have an entire document processing fee. It's like a $700 fee. We don't charge that to our clients. I pay that. I pay that myself because I'm trying to deliver smooth transactions, right? There's always things that come up, right? This is real estate. Every transaction, something comes up. Always, there's always something. But I have a lot of control to try and minimize that for my clients. And I take a lot of pride in that. And that's something that we do well and that I work hard at. So believe it or not, 49% of real estate agents have done 0 or 1 transactions in the last 12 months. That's insane, right? Most realtors are hardly active at all. You want to be with someone who does this. You want to be with someone who understands the programs that are available, like Zillow Showcase. You want to be with someone who understands advertising, right? And how to promote an open house and get a property to move. That is key. Um, so there's a smart way to do this. Call me. I can help. This is what I do, and I love it. So I thank you so much for watching this video. You got through the whole thing. This is what we covered. We covered 6 different strategies in this video. We covered strategic pricing, the payment focus, right? Having tools in our tool belt to cater to buyers who are sensitive to their payment. Aggressive marketing, that's key. Curb appeal and staging are fun, but it's important, right? This is psychology that we're catering to and working with a strong agent. We covered a lot in this video, and I hope that you feel more confident and comfortable with the process. You have an idea of how are we going to do this? We got this. We're going to do it. We're going to do it right. You feel good about it. You feel excited about it. That's what my goal is with this video. I appreciate you watching, and I encourage you to give me a call, get my contact information, just scan that barcode, and send me a text. Send me a text and let me know what you're working on. I'd love to hear about it, and I'm looking forward to meeting you. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.